Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Thursday, June 10th, 2021. I am Dave Biddle. I am joined by 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting. You know him very well. He is Steve Wiltfong. Steve, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Hey, good morning, David. How are you?
I am doing great, man. How about yourself?
Doing well, man. Doing great. Headed down to Future 50 in or Tampa or Bradenton this weekend, so we'll be bringing you some coverage from that.
Nice. The man that never sleeps, Steve Wiltfong. All right, a lot of questions to get to. I put a thread on the front row message board, as you know, asking our subscribers to ask you questions. We're not going to hit all of them in the spirit of time, but we're going to hit as many as we can. Let's start with the question from Buckeye 778. He wants to know, Steve, is Carnell Tate on commit watch? Carnell Tate, for those who don't know, number 5 wide receiver in the 2023 class.
No, I don't think he's on commit watch right now, but I love where Ohio State stands. I think the next thing for him in this process with the Buckeyes is getting his mom to campus. I think that he could commit before his junior season, and I like where Ohio State stands. But Notre Dame's in there and several others, and Carnell, has to get back and get his mom to campus.
Next question, I love this, comes from Fong69. No relation to Steve Wiltfong. This is PHONG69. Fong69 asks Fong the latest on Gabriel Harris. What's the latest on Gabriel Harris, Steve?
Well, he camped at Ohio State, earned an offer, was committed to Florida State at the time, backed off his pledge to the Noles, and I think Ohio State and Georgia are two that are near the top of his list. If you were asking me who I thought led today, I would pick the Buckeyes.
I know our subscribers like that. Next question comes from Ryan015. Ryan015 wants to know, Steve, have you seen anything that surprises you yet with name, image, and likeness?
No, I think, I haven't seen anything yet. I'm interested to see how, these young men are able to monetize their names. I mean, I can think of obvious things like your jersey being sold in bookstores and things of that nature. But I'm still kind of in wait and see mode to see how it plays out. I do know Ohio State obviously has a plan for it, and one of the schools with the bigger presences in college football. I think it could be advantageous for a lot of guys in that locker room.
Yeah, man, I'm fascinated to see how this works out. It's going to be like the Wild West. I don't know what to expect. I just know I'm fascinated to see how it plays out. All right, next question comes from Slim Kid. Steve, did Quinn Ewers and Zach Rice talk about playing together?
Well, I would think that I don't know exactly what their dialogue was about, but certainly, Zach took his official visit this past weekend and had a good trip. His mom raved about the experience, and I think that, they look at Ohio State as a legitimate option.
Next question comes from Fox R 2001. Steve, what is more surprising? Rutgers being ranked 5th in recruiting right now, or Michigan being ranked 21st? Also, who will have the better season, Rutgers or Michigan this fall?
I think Michigan will have the better season. I think that they have some pieces there to be pretty good. They've added a lot of speed and dynamic guys on offense. I think Rutgers is still building. Michigan beat Rutgers last year on the road, and what will be one of the probably worst Michigan seasons we'll have seen. So I still think Michigan is in a better spot than Rutgers. I think Rutgers' recruiting class is exciting in the sense that they are ranked so high right now, but when you look at the average ranking per commit, I think it's more likely that they finish somewhere between the 17 to 27 range, which is still would be one of the best classes Rutgers ever signed, where Michigan's average ranking per commit is 90.47. And so I think when it's all said and done, Michigan will have the higher ranked recruiting class too.
Next question comes from Geo Dit. He wants to know, Steve, what was your determining factor in crystal balling Zion Branch to the Buckeyes? And do you think if Zion Branch becomes a Buckeye, will that affect Xavier and Nowakpa from becoming a Buckeye?
Well, you guys that have been listening to the Bucknuts Morning Five for the last few months know that I've always liked Ohio State's position for Zion Branch. Just, Bill Kurlick's information kind of pushed me over the top to make that crystal ball forecast. But I think the Buckeyes have always been in a great spot for him. And they're also recruiting his brother, Zachariah Branch, 2023 receiver who received his offer last weekend. as well. And I think that Ohio State's in a really good spot for him. That would be a heck of a 2023 receiver haul if they're able to land Carnell Tate and Zachariah Branch, and then back to Zion Branch. I mean, he likes USC, visited there this week. There's some other schools in the mix, but I do think that Ohio State's always been present near the top for him. And I think the official visit, based on talking to people that spent time with him, was a really good one. Will it affect Xavier Nowakpa? I don't know. I mean, Xavier's got some great schools that he's looking at down the stretch here too. He's visiting Texas A&M and Notre Dame coming up. Those are two programs that he's also been excited about. No question, Ohio State's near the top. But when you're looking at those three schools, you're a guy that's not really fazed by who else is on the depth chart. You know, you're making this decision based on that's a program that you think can maximize your potential. And so, no, I think Xavier's decision to attend Ohio State, Texas A&M, or Notre Dame, none of that would be depth chart related. It would be more just what he had the best fit for, and you know who he thought who he felt most comfortable with in the end.
We're at the halfway point. I've asked Steve 6 questions so far. There are 6 more to ask. Next one comes from Buckeye Warrior. Steve, is Quinn Ewers Buckeye Warrior? That's right.
I still owe Buckeye Warrior a bottle or a something. For he won a bet with me on the front row many years back, and I haven't forgot. I just the job I'm in now, I can't attend any Ohio State games anymore, and I thought I'd get to a tailgate, and because I was going once a year, and I thought I would get to a tailgate over there because my brother lives in Columbus, but I haven't been able to get him that bottle of his favorite liqueur.
Just you remembering here on the Bucknuts Morning 5 is going to make his morning, I bet. So he has 2 questions for you, if you don't mind. Number 1, is Quinn Ewers a solid commit to the Buckeyes? And who do you think is going to be next to commit to the Buckeyes?
I do think Quinn Ewers is a solid commit to the Buckeyes. And then next commit, I don't know. I mean, they're in a good spot for a lot of guys. I don't know who is like on commit watch right now. You know, obviously I have some crystal balls in place, so those would be the ones I'd point to.
Next question comes from Peebles Buck. Steve, what 2023 quarterback do you think Ohio State will land?
Oh man, it's pretty early. I'm not sure. Obviously they've offered Nico from California, Eli Holstein, Dylan Lonergan earned an offer, and all those guys are saying the right things about Ohio State. I think we'll be able to know who Ohio State's in a great spot for at that position with who comes back next, who takes a second visit to really dive in, because those guys had to come and earn it in camp, and certainly they got to hang out with Coach Dennis and Coach Day and see some things. But those were camp visits that proved to be fruitful. I'll be interested to see who comes back, whether I don't think Ohio State's going to do any visits in July. So who comes back in the fall for a game?
Next question was asked by actually 2 of our subscribers, 85 Yards and Young Snuggie. We will combine that into one. They basically want to know the number 3 defensive lineman in the 2022 class, the 5-star, Shamar Stewart. Do the Buckeyes have a realistic chance of landing Shamar Stewart, Steve?
I think guys like Shamar Stewart and Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, who's another 5-star defensive lineman from Florida, they're going to visit. And Ohio State's a program that's capable of making a move whenever they get a young man on campus, particularly at that position with the amount of respect that Larry Johnson commands from all these prospects. And just they all enjoy talking to him, and he's got a presence to him. And certainly Ohio State's had a lot of results, but they trail going into those trips. So we'll see, you know, if the needle moves enough to thrust them into that, you know, pole position. But if you're Ohio State, you certainly take a swing on guys like that. And I think they're going to like it. But some other schools are in a little deeper at this point, in my opinion.
I know I can never do a Bucknuts Morning 5 without talking about JTT, whether it just gets brought up or someone wants us to talk about. I imagine the same is true for Dan Rubin when he hosts the show. By the way, for those that are wondering, Dan Rubin is getting some much needed relaxation. He's off today, so I'm filling in for him. So Steve Wiltfong, what is your prediction on what's going to happen with JTT?
Well, I think that it's a tight battle. I mean, the 2 schools I've been looking at the closest are the same, Ohio State and Alabama. I do think as he gets closer to a decision, reading Brandon Huffman's reporting on it, you can't rule out those schools in the Pac-12 and the opportunity to stay closer to home and Washington's had some recent success on the defensive line in the NFL draft, and Oregon has Kayvon Thibodeau, who's certainly going to go incredibly high. And the reason why I'm mentioning the NFL draft is because I think it's one of the more important components in JT's decision of who can not only help him develop into a first-round pick, but a top 10 pick. And I think with that, Ohio State has done a great job recruiting him. And we'll see how the rest of his officials shake out. He took his first trip to Washington. He's got 4 to go. And if you're Ohio State, I think you like your position going into your official. But I mean, it's by no means a foregone conclusion that he's going anywhere.
I should have mentioned it was our subscriber Chef Esco 80 who asked the question about JTT. All right, 2 more for Mr. Wilt Fong, and we'll get him out of here. All right, next question comes from T Ward 1992. He wants to know about 4-star defensive lineman Hero Kanu. Steve, how close are you to crystal balling Hero Kanu to the Buckeyes, if at all?
No, I think Ohio State's in the top 2 or 3 for him. They're in a great spot. They could easily land him. Him and like Chris McClellan from Oklahoma. I mean, those are 2 defensive tackles that Ohio State offered around the same time that they have a great chance to land.
Last question comes from Ski Pal. He wants to know basically about 2023 running backs. He wants you to compare Richard Young, who is the number 1 running back in the 2023 class, with Trayon Webb, who's the number 4 athlete in the 2023 class.
He wants me to compare Trayon Webb and Richard Young?
Yes.
Well, I think they're both extremely high on Ohio State's board. And so I think that those are guys that are coveted targets for Tony Alford, Ryan Day and company, and are guys that you're going to be following closely in that next cycle.
Great stuff, Steve. I really appreciate you joining me, man.
Absolutely. Y'all take care. We'll see you on the front row.
That's right. Let's hear the Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.